with Angela, and she was our agent. Again, I'm just very
I'm sure that you, if you did not authorize that, could contact Angela, and Angela could write a letter to the state demanding that they find out where the credit card came from, and they will have to provide that.
Rodney just said that it did show Angela online as the authorized agent. But let me clear up one thing that does bother me, because I know that I got 3 or 4 calls from the media the next morning. I don't think it was an attack toward Michael. I think it was a plea for money, basically just saying, Cindy said, I think Angie asked her what, she was asking for more money for Light Up Blue Ridge, and she said, we just incurred some extra expenses, for example, some attorney's fees and some issues where these had not been filed for 2 years, and I guess there's penalties. I don't know, I've always filed mine.
Yeah, because we've always filed ours.
Actually, there wasn't any attorney's fees. The problem is because, for whatever reason, I think the 480 West First Street is actually this building's address, and everything, according to the Secretary of State's website, was coming here. I don't know why it was coming here, and I don't know what happened to it once it came here. But what happened was that nobody paid the required fees to the state of Georgia, and nobody filed the required filing with the IRS. I was asked to undertake to find out what would be involved to get it reinstated, and the expenses were the penalties and the fees that were supposed to have been paid past tense that had to be brought current in order for them to reinstate it.
And I guess I just assumed that, there was another $1,000 given to Light Up Blue Ridge, and I felt like that the council did that maybe to help compensate some of that. I don't know how much the fees were, but I don't think it was actually an attack toward Michael.
No.
And I'm not sure. I do know that Sue and Linda brought all the documents for Light Up Blue Ridge here, and I know that those were in a back room, and I think Sally got those. So I don't know what happened, and I don't get the statements. I guess that's a statement that comes in from the Secretary of State, so I'm not sure why it wasn't filed. Actually, it should have been dissolved, probably, because all the city of Blue Ridge owned it. Would you have not thought?
We took over the event. We
Right.
take over the 501c3.
Yeah, it's a 501c3, it's a nonprofit.
We just took over the event.
But to file a
The
501c3,
501c3.
Michael had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, his name's on the paperwork.
yeah. But in order to do that, don't you have to give?
He has never had anything to do
Well,
with
just a
being an
minute.
officer.
To do that, do you not have to fill out a form to be able to change it to your? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
My CPA does my
There's
stuff.
no registration is all the time.
It's very easy to be done. I do it for my clients, and anybody can do it. As long as the credit card works, anybody can go on there and say, this is my new updated officers, and it's very easy to do.
So it's possible that like a city employee could have put Michael Eaton's name in there and it wasn't Michael.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I don't like the fact that they, on the paperwork, says it was authorized by Sue Griffin.
Yeah. And Michael doesn't like the fact that his name's been stuck on there either. So I don't see a big problem. It's been resolved. I don't think in either one had an intention for your names to be on there, and I don't know who put them on there, unless somebody here knows who.
Well, and I was just getting calls and calls and calls from everyone, emails from Michael. So I just wanted to come to today's meeting and clear up that, again, if anybody would have come to me or to Linda to say, who's going to take it over with the city. But now Rodney's saying you wouldn't have even taken over the 501c3, so it doesn't.
I mean, there would be no reason for us to.
So and I haven't asked.
We've got the right people in
It's been
place
corrected
today. Again, I just was very concerned with the number of calls I got after the meeting, messages from Michael, other people that have contacted me that I just wanted to say,
Well, I didn't think it was a problem until I started getting a few phone calls.
Someone from the city could have done it because Michael was over the parks at the time and did it, with him not even knowing. So, but we probably should get to the bottom of that and find out who did it, so then that would be the good one. Yeah, but yeah, I don't think it was Michael. I think it was probably, since he was over the parks, it was probably somebody who's representative.
Really, well, that is dangerous. That is a slippery slope to go down and put his name on 3 offices. So
Yeah,
he may not be here, but he is having it investigated as well. He had absolutely nothing to do with it. So we'll clear that up right now. So I I would ask that his name not be tossed around like a piece of trash in these meetings, because he had nothing to do with it. I'm his mother.
Maybe you didn't hear me, Jan. I don't think it was meant in that way. Cindy was asking for money
We've
for a lot of.
listened to the audio. We've listened to the
Okay,
audio.
well, okay, she was asking for money. All right.
We
and
listened
I'm
to the
sorry,
audio. We
Donna,
have
what's
the
your name?
audio.
Hi, I'm Donna Carver Gay, and I'm a resident of Blue Ridge, and I think there are lots of different agendas in the area. And of course, mine is to keep the residential areas clear, no encroachment, no growth, no business districts encroaching. But also, we've got a good city council and mayor, and we've got a councilwoman who dares to have the effrontery to demand accountability and equal treatment. So what has she done to anybody? Can anybody give one example of something she has done to deserve the kind of outraged response from the audience?
It's not what she's done, it's what she hasn't done.
So it goes back to that. That's all it is.
Well, I mean, you know, we've been trying to communicate, and there is none. So, you know, I mean, I have nothing personal against her at all. I just would like to see, as you would, the city should be able to move forward and be prosperous and grow and be a wonderful place that people want to come visit, as they do.
Well, I, as well as, excuse me, lots of people voted for our mayor and city council to run our city. I don't see that we need an extra element to do these things, borrow money. Our city should be solvent. It should be.
It isn't.
I know it, and it needs to be before we
But
take
there is a
anything
solution
else.
to
Well,
moving forward.
It's not borrowing more money. That's
No,
all.
it's
Let's
not
let her
borrowing.
finish real
It's
quickly, but we are one of the few cities that did not have to borrow money to make it through our day-to-day operations. We have had to put out a tremendous amount of money to start our $18 million project, as most everybody at this table, I think, knows. We have received part of those funds back. But, you know, that really straps the city when you're having to do that, and our expenses have increased. You just heard Bill Sowers say we know we've got a 20% increase this year in insurance benefits alone. Plus, I mean, you know, the light bills have went up. I mean, everything has went up. We're doing the same thing every household is doing. If you go to the grocery store, a gallon of milk's more now, you know, loaf of bread's more. So we're not in bad shape for a city. We're in really good shape. A lot of cities are having to borrow money just to make their payroll. We've not had to do that. And we could take on lots of projects and move forward and be broke, but we spend what's within our realm. And, you know, our little city is growing and it has bigger needs, but we're not in bankruptcy by no means. We can still make payroll, we can still pay our expenses, unless something drastic has happened in the last couple of weeks. So we're not in as bad a shape as some would have you think.
Actually, we are.
We can make payroll. I think a lot of
We're
people
making
might.
payroll, but we don't even have money to pay the street that's needed to be paid for 5 years.
We pave streets every year.
The East Main Street, I mean, it is.
We only get a little
embarrassing.
over $200,000 a year to pay all of our streets.
We
So
have
we have to
200.
share that between all the
I mean, you
residents.
said yourself last meeting that we don't have the money. We don't have the money. You know what, make a way. It needs to be paid.
But you have that street plus you have another
And if we've got
project.
money to do it, why has it not been done?
We just got the money, if you remember. We're just barely gonna have the money to do both. That's
Which is it,
still,
Donna? Do we barely have money or are we in good shape?
there are different pots of money, Angie. There
I know,
is street
Donna,
money and there is only
but
so
you
much
do
that
that.
comes, well, okay, then if you know, there's about 200 plus that comes in every year for streets. We have how many miles of road? A lot.
Well,
Little bitty city. We
Would
have
you
to
take
take
a list of the ones that have been paid? Because as I go down the street and I live in the city, I don't see any that's been paid. I see a lot of patching.
There's 28 roads that have been paid.
Well, I'd like to see that list.
And we see the city budget.
Yeah, I mean, we're working on it.
That's public knowledge anytime you want it.
That's actually on a website for DCA now. Is that right, DCA, Phil? BCA website, all budgets have to be put on those, so.
That's a website.
Yeah, you go through the Department of Community Affairs and you pull up your cities and your counties. You can pull all of them. And if you don't want to do that, Donna, we'll give you a copy from here.
Okay,
And I've got copies going back years, and I've got budget amendment copies, I've got all that, so.
thank you.
We should have, I mean, we've added a lot of extra things, it's just like we have some extra money, I mean, we've added.
Well, we just got almost over,
And then we've added Sunday, so, I mean, we should have some money, some extra.
we lost some alcohol sale money when Union County actually did package and poured by the drink and added all that. So they took a little bit of our revenue from, our England and package and things like that. So we saw a reduction in the beginning. But with merchants that are new business owners, we've seen an increase with pouring.
Well, how much do we have in SPOS right now? 200 and something thousand? 264, so yeah, we've got $250,000 right now to get ready to pave roads, so that's what we're waiting on our engineers to complete.
Next. Okay, and then Brenda's after Steve.
I'm Steve Warrior, I'm Black Sheep. I was part of the original 2020 group. I'm not going to go into 2020 now because I'd like to do something else. The representation when we're elected officials, that's part of what you're elected to do is to listen to what we say. And if there's not a dialogue, then you don't know how we feel. The day we vote in confidence. The personality, the integrity, the honesty, and personal feelings go out the door. You could be a partisan, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent. That's part of the nature. But when we let personal feelings get in the way, or we don't explore, then that's not the job we were elected for. It's just not. Part of the 2020 group, what Cindy did, a great service to the community. And you worry about money, you don't know what you can have if you ask. We're not using the private sector the way it should be done. I mean, there was thousands of dollars that the 2020 people gave up out of their businesses. There was thousands of dollars that people came in, and some of them not even local people, came in to give. 2020 was set up for this. 20 years back, 20 years forward, and 20 people. To do something good for the community. And through all of our discussions, every one of them was, what's council going to think when we get these things to them? Are we going to give them enough to excite them? I mean, our overlay, which people didn't understand. But you're going to have growth over the next 25 years. I won't be around to see some of that, but you have to understand. 2020 in the plan is a business plan. Some of you own businesses. You have business plans. The city needs a master plan. It needs to start out with what we did, the foundation, and use the intelligence in here and use the volunteerism. You said, who's going to take care of the DDA? DDA is not go. DDA is a tool. It's an instrument. And I could probably put 3 men out tonight, all with big backgrounds, corporate backgrounds, that'll volunteer to head the DDA with no money. That's all it takes to start. Then we go down the street, and we've done it before. Ask that business owner, I need $100 to help start the DDA. You ask for 100, you're probably going to get more than that. Don't be frightened of what you don't understand. Please. Use us. Some of us have one heck of a lot of experience in city government, state government, planning, developing, and people are going to give. That's what Blue Ridge is. It's a giving place. And those of you who've been here forever, you would have stayed. It's special. Those of us who haven't been here forever are here because it is special. One of the things was in the 2020, we had, what can we say to people? People say, what's special about Blue Ridge? Come and find out what the secret is. There is a secret. Come and find out what the secret is. We're losing the secret right now, folks. You know, use some of us like a big old horse we are, rights. Let us give the information. Let us work with you. Let us work for you. If you ask, you'll probably get it. But pettiness has got to go aside. It just has to. You know, doing something to rebut is not it. Sit down and talk about it, but don't go out blindly. And there's a whole lot of handshakes here. And I look around, there's a lot of love. So come back to 2020. Come back to the group that just was here. Use us, please.
I have a question for you. And this just hit me because, and it's something Donna said actually. I know that when the group was started, you know, Joe Horton and someone else came in, but I don't remember who came with him. And they did ask for us, we couldn't pick the committee and we had to stay uninvolved. We weren't invited to meetings, we weren't supposed to know what was going on because they didn't want us to skew the outcome. And we would have because we all, you know, knew that, hey, we can't build a big monument, we don't have the money for that, or, you know, if I take the money from this to do that. But anyway, they asked for a couple of people to help get them indoors to be able to talk to folks like Donna that might have said, hey, I'm not interested, or and I'm not pointing out Donna, but I mean just an introduction. Joe asked for an introduction because he went down through the streets and talked to folks. And I remember my suggestion was Bill Prather, you know, because Bill knows everybody. And he didn't necessarily get appointed. I'm not sure if he was involved or not.
He was. And was
I still am not sure.
A valuable part of the history that we have.
You know, but that didn't mean they had to take any suggestion. I know that everybody kind of threw out a name. But I guess my question is, one of the things that I remember them talking about is it starts out with this group, they start building on that, and then, you know, you divide that group up, and basically what my intent was, you know, before we throw it away, let's make sure that we really want to throw it away and don't want to have to come back in 4 or 5 years and spend the money again. Because there are other folks, Donna, I know Richard McNally, and he'll kill me for saying his name, and some others, they're pretty passionate about the overlay piece. And, you know, nothing is carved in stone. Those things, you go out and get those people that are passionate, and you build more committees out of it. Am I correct? So that you get a take from that end of the street, and you go down to the Ada side where someone lives, and you get a feel for this is what my community thinks about my street, or am I going down the wrong road? Is that not what the intent was?
You're exactly.
You start with those 20 and you build, and it becomes basically the entire community that's the driving force. It's not just that group. Everybody's assigned to different areas.
Someone told someone on East 2nd Street that this was commercial. No, probably not in my lifetime. You know, it's there. But when you start looking at your core, and you think what's happening, okay, and think over the next 20 years just the way things move. Ross's house just sold, you know, and all of your on Main Street, you know, you start thinking about what's happened. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens in 20 years as things move. You know, take a look, Rodney, you live on 8th Street right now. You know, you may not believe this. I'm going to make a prediction right now because you'll still be alive. 20 years from now, you know, 8th Street will be one of the major arteries in Blue Ridge because the industrial park's out there.
I looked at moving Highway 5 through 8th Street.
Exactly,
you know,
right.
That was one of the paths that was looked at.
And this is what we did. You know, a developer is a dreamer. A planner is a dreamer. And we got together and took those hats, put on, and we all started dreaming. You know, most of you know that myself and some friends, we just bought property on 8th Street. We cleared it. You know, it's a dream. They have cottages downtown Blue Ridge. You know, the downtown folks they're all excited. I can't go any place. They don't want to talk. That's a dream. That's a development. You know, we need to take this cusp right now, and we really need to ride it because we're going to be brutally beat by Murphy. I mean, I can tell you because I have been a developer. I know people up there looking at ground. I know big flags are up there. And our gateways aren't there. Now, we had a doctor in my restaurant 4 months ago. I told Steve about this. Got a house in Hiawassee. 7 years they've been going back and forth. They didn't know about downtown Blue Ridge. You know how I found about downtown Blue Ridge? Because their neighbors had been to eat at my restaurant and said, you got to go to the black. The guy downtown, she was a draw, and she's an artsy person. I mean, you just have to look at it now and start caressing what we